Like I wouldn't want to replicate Kuntanaton or any other leaders. I might look up to various leaders around the world, but you have to be yourself in order for you to enjoy politics. If you don't have the autonomy of being yourself and have to answer phone calls all the time, the big boss is calling, telling you what to vote or what not to vote, or telling you to walk out of the parliament so that you abstain or you don't show up for quorum and things like that, it's going to be pretty brutal, and you're not going to enjoy it very much. So it's something that needs grit and resilience. And as for the current leader of the People's Party, crystallization, it's what's going on. If they pass, they'll become a diamond. If they fail, they'll become ash. But it's up to them if they have that grit and that resilience, like Lee Kuan Yew's speech. This is not a house of cards. Let's give it up. It's your life and mine. Yeah, you have to have that kind of iron in you to lead, not just Singapore back in the days, but also Thailand now. So yeah, I'm gonna give them some time, and I feel like they are going through some heat, but that's part of crystallizing a diamond, and I feel like he'll be able to deliver when required, just like how I delivered when it was required. And I have full trust in him. When I won the election, formed the coalition, formed the parliamentary or the cabinet sittings, I wanted him to be my Secretary General for Prime Minister. So if you looked at my LinkedIn, maybe in the first few weeks, you see him right behind me all the time. I remember it was the MIT alumni meeting. I showed up because maybe the dean came or something like that. And then I brought Kun Nattapong along with me because I felt in my head that I wanted him to be the Secretary General of the Prime Minister for me. That's how much trust I had in him. But then he got some competing demand to be like Audrey Tang of Taiwan, so to be the digital economy minister. So he got poached from what I wanted him to be, which is probably something that he's specializing in and what he wanted to do. So I let him become the incoming digital economy minister at the time. So the photo op together just subsided as we were forming the cabinet, but I have 100% trust in the guy.
Yeah, as I say, I talked to quite a lot of different kinds of people. I mentioned the optimists who say, doesn't matter that you didn't get to be Prime Minister last year, it's just wait and see, the narrative's changed, it's been disrupted, give it another, you go back a few more times. I also talked to people from the Conservative side who say, Professor, they're finished. Party's over. Look, we've got them where we want them. They haven't been able to look how we manipulated the Senate elections successfully. Look how they haven't been able to make gains in the local elections so far. And now we've got, another 44 cases, and we can just take out all the key people in the party. But once people realize they're never going to be in power, this kind of movement doesn't have a future. What do you say to those people who, I have to say, I meet them all the time. You've probably met a few of them yourself.
But 54 is a new 44, Professor. It's only a 10-year ban. What are you talking about? It's not forever. I'm just peeing on him because I know what the follow-up question would be. They're still not done with me, so they'll probably they have the risk of extending the ban from 10-year to a lifetime ban. I mean, I can never run for public office ever again because of ethical violations. I mean, ethics is something that's good in a society, but it should not be enforced or weaponized, and it should be proportionate. It's an argument that we're trying to do, but they're trying to exterminating us. They're not done with me. So that's why I'm back here in the region, where I'm a visiting fellow at Harvard, and I should be spending time with the students in Cambridge. I'm back here to set another defensive move against the ban of a lifetime ban. But yeah, I feel like I'm a Buddhist. I'm living in the moment today as a gift, and that's 10 years. So the good thing is now I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of pranayama now. 54 will be a 44. I might be younger at the time. But the question about whether it's going to be done or not, or whether it will actually be a true, full, and not a hybrid regime, democracy institutionalized politics are not. A lot of question is probably asked for the same what's going on in Bangladesh or South Korea back in 1993. Indonesia is probably not a good example of that much, but yeah, there's times when there's tyranny of the minority, and there are things like that. There's robust opposition, there's international scrutiny, there's collapse from within. There'll be times when the younger generation, my age, in the army, saying enough is enough. I'm not going to kill more the people of my own motherland. I'm putting the guns down, and that the leader had to get a helicopter and leave. It's going to take a while, and politics is a long game. A long game requires patience and strategy and cadence. So I'm aware of that. And if you want to change Thailand for good, it has to be on a sustainable basis. And the way you do it is through parliamentary mechanism. I still wanted to make sure that we win more, we dominate ideas, and we feed fresh blood into the system. Even the system is really damaged, the house is broken down, the structure is not there, but if we have a good, capable young people into the body to invigorate the body, I think it will come alive. We actually calculate how many people we need to fill the positions once we're at the government. We need the prime minister, we need the deputy prime minister, we need ministers, we need vice ministers, we need spokesperson, we need the secretaries, we need the people who take care of state-owned enterprises who will become the ambassador to Singapore from Thailand. That's about 3,000, 4,000 people. I'm going to spend the next 10 years to think about this in order to come up with the younger generation, the young blood that would feed into the system so that Thailand changes for good. So there's always risk to everything, but there's always preparation for everything as well. Yeah.
You've alluded to there's obviously some kind of deal which has been agreed in order to allow the present government, which is an alliance between people who used to be against the military and people who used to be with the military, to get together. And obviously Thailand it's not a two-party system, it's a coalition system where almost every government has been a coalition of different parties. Do you think there's a possibility that the People's Party or some other progressive party could actually ultimately end up as part of, if not a deal of the darker variety, but some more upfront and transparent and decent coalition government in the future? Because although we always hear that a one-party government is the only answer, a one-party government, as we know, is incredibly difficult to establish in Thailand.
Well, let me begin by telling what the People's Party's goal is. They wanted 270 out of 500, so they got 150. And they want to become one-party government. You need 251, obviously. So that's 100 more in terms of districts. When I was the leader of Move Forward Party, we do a lot of data analysis, a lot of big data analysis. We look at the top 100 districts that we lost by about 5% margin. Some of them are in northeastern province, some of them in the south, some of them in the southern part of Thailand. We know exactly where that 100 seats will come from, that we lost by about 5% margin, where the candidates are strong and vigorous, where the competitors are old and aging, where the constituencies are younger than 40 years old. We have all that data mapped out. In order to get 251, you got to retain the core and expand the reach. Two things: retain the core and expand the reach. Those reach of new 100 districts where they're coming from, 14 million votes, how can it be 20? Those things we have goals setting. But I don't think that's the goal to be a one-party government, is to give them enough political weight. Because 40% is not enough weight for sure. So you have to be 55, 60, to become the undisputed leader of democratic Thailand. That's the goal. That's what they're trying to do, and they have that strategy, and they have the operations, work backwards in order to achieve the target that is mentioned. But whether you will be allowed to form the government, or once you're in the government and get removed by ethical violations, by politicized independent organizations, that is another parallel modification in terms of the origin of these independent organizations, the transparency, the ability to criticize when it's not there, or accountability. Who watches the watchdog? Independent to what? Independent to who? These are the questions and the mechanisms that needs modification, and it's not going to be easy also. These two things are a parallel work in order for you to win the election and get yourself into governance as well. So that's something that I think the party is doing on the two separate routes.
Right, absolutely. But the less glamorous bit, which I know you've been very interested in and Thanator's been very interested in, is the local government question. We have another round of local government elections coming up in the next few months, and that, I guess, will be the last big testing ground before the next general election. Last time, the progressive movement, which is sort of what could we call it? It's technically not a party, but it consists of people who are affiliated with the same kinds of ideas, right? Didn't manage to make that breakthrough to take control of any local administrative organization. Do you think it's possible at this time that, for example, a provincial administrative organization, or at least a municipality or two, could fall into the hands of the progressive side? Because that would give you the chance to have a little model zone where you could implement some of your ideas and show to people what you'd be like in government. Because what we keep hearing now is, oh, Professor, those people like Pitar, they're wonderful at talking, but they've never run anything. They don't know how to run anything. When it comes right down to it, they don't have a track record. So how can you rely on them?
Absolutely. I feel like we have the chance, once we have tackled a couple of glitches, a couple of equations. The difference between national election and provincial election is the ease of going to the election. For the national election, you can vote from Singapore. You can vote from Sydney. You can vote in advance. So, it's very convenient for the voters to go vote. And the voting turnout, like I said, is about 76%. Whereas the provincial vote does not have that convenience. You have to travel back to Eastern Seaboard in Rayong from Chiang Mai, from Singapore, and vote by yourself for a day and return to your work. It might be accidentally scheduled just right before Father's Day and Christmas Day, because they know you're going home twice in December already. You're not going to go for the third time to go vote, So there's various voter suppression techniques for the voting turnout to be very low. And that happened to be the case. Voting turnout in provincial is about 50 to 55%. So that's the kind of equation that the parliament needs to fix. And there are certain individuals within the People's Party that are submitting amendments on these things, making sure that election is free, fair, and easy. Regardless of the levels, because who becomes a provincial leader is using the taxpayers' money of 60 billion baht. It's quite a large amount of money, very important, probably the second most important election behind the national election. And they also have to convince people that the sacrifice that they're making, but let's return home and vote to make sure that all your problems that are a part of your daily life gets solved by people who know the region and not people from Bangkok or people who are not appointed from Bangkok. The average mayor, the average governor age in Thailand is 1.5 years. So in the northern part of Thailand, I met him. He came from down south. He stayed for 1.5 years and then he leaves. The people from the right side of Thailand, the governor is from the left. He stayed for about 7 months and then he leaves. So there's no continuation. He might be efficient, but there's no linkages or there's no sense of community back there. But this, every 4 years you get to vote. And if he doesn't perform, you vote him out, but you can't vote the governor out. So let's come out and vote. So yeah, we absolutely have a chance, but it's going to be a hard work and much harder than the national election because of the way the referee works, the way the rules of the game works. But I think if you really pro-democracy and you want democracy to flourish, election is not all of it, but it's part of it. And it should be easy, it should be convenient, it should be free, it should be fair. And the more people go out to vote, the better the reflection of the choice. I mean, election committee cannot say that they're very legitimate by having 52% of people who go out to vote. They're doing a very poor job. So that's something that it's a mountain that we need to climb.
Thank you. So we can't avoid talking a little bit about the present actual government. And just now you said, well, the yellow and red is all behind us, and I really wish it was. I wrote a book about Thaksin 20 years ago, which has been parked on the shelf. I haven't had to take it down for a while, and then suddenly I find myself looking at it again, because the Shinawatra family are back with a vengeance, and now Thaksin's daughter, Paetongtarn, is the Prime Minister of Thailand. Thaksin himself is somewhere in the background. We don't know exactly where in the background, but perhaps not too far away from the scene. And then the other day we have, Sonti Limthongkun of People's Alliance for Democracy fame proclaiming that next year the yellow shirts will be back out protesting against the Shinawats. And I feel like I'm in this Groundhog Day movie. So you thrived during a period when the enemy was the military, the legacies of the coup. It's all about the coup. But now the military's kind of vanished from the scene, not really, but they're not the public face of what's going on. The public face is now Thai, with which you have a complicated relationship because of the former love-in that didn't quite work out last year. So what do you think all this means for Thailand's politics? I've got to say, I wake up in the morning thinking, haven't I seen this episode before?
Merry-go-round politics, or so revolving door politics is probably more visible. I mean, as I revolve out, and then Thaksin revolves in, and back to the same old thing. So that's why I stated that this is Thailand at crossroad is not enough. It's crossroad of crossroads. There's something that is going to change, and there's a continuity of things. What I had learned during my time in my political journey, there's no permanent friends and foes, only permanent interest. There's only permanent interest. As long as that interest is at equilibrium, the government or the current coalition will try to stay together to prevent the new threat, quote unquote, the new threat, which is AKA me. So the stability of the government is based on the emerging threat, a different kind of disruptor, some kind of new politician styles and things like that. So that's why they felt like if they cannot fight them, you join them, or just collude with them. That's the business way or transactional way of when you think about politics. If you can finally allocate interest, and then you can just, why fight? Just merge and join and become a two-party system. Just like like when we enter into election, just back last time, the by-election, it's almost like a two-party system, us against the rest, because they would just collude and wouldn't show up for the election landscape. So it's really up to the Thai people of how they think about this. If they think political integrity is not important, and they feel like if it takes them a year to do a cash handout is sufficient. If that is the case, it's really up for the people of Thailand to decide. But if political integrity is something of importance, what you say before, you had given me my trust, your trust, and after you had given it to me, it matters before and after. And I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to work with you to deliver in order for us to move forward together. And we wanted to make sure that it's an inclusive growth and not just prioritizing on a couple of businesses. Make sure it's transparent, take care of corruption by reducing discretion, regulatory guillotine to get rid of all these permits that do nothing but ability for you to ask under the table money. And we're different in the sense that we owe nobody nothing. We have that political autonomy to talk about the military. We have that political autonomy to talk about the monopolies. We have the political autonomy to talk about the media. So it's really up for the Thai people to decide when time comes when we go to the polls.